The flight from Seattle to Chicago felt longer than usual. My body ached from 3 days of back-to-back business meetings, but my heart was light. At 71, most people my age were retired, playing with grandchildren, or taking leisurely cruises. Not me. I was Theodora Westlake, and I had just closed the biggest deal of my career. 25 years I had been building Westlake Consulting, specializing in supply chain management for pharmaceutical companies. What started as a small operation run from my dining room table had grown into a respected firm with clients across the country. And this week, a major corporation had acquired my company for $8 million. $8 million. The number still felt surreal. I had signed the papers, shaken hands with executives in expensive suits, and maintained my composure throughout the entire process. But on the plane ride home, I allowed myself a moment to feel the weight of what I had accomplished. This was generational wealth. This was security for my son Trent, for my grandson Malik, for their futures. I had raised Trent alone after my husband Vincent died in a construction accident when our boy was only 6 years old. It was 1961, and the world wasn't kind to widows, especially black widows trying to make their way in a society that seemed determined to keep us down. But I refused to be broken. I worked 2 jobs, put myself through night school, and eventually started my own business. Trent was now 43 years old, married to Vivian for 5 years, and they had a beautiful son, Malik, who was 8. When Vivian's family lost their home to foreclosure 2 years ago, I had opened my doors without hesitation. My house in the Hyde Park neighborhood of Chicago was spacious, a 3-story Victorian I had purchased 15 years ago when my business started thriving. There was plenty of room for everyone. Or so I thought. The taxi dropped me off in front of my house just after 7 in the evening. The October air was crisp, leaves scattered across my front lawn in brilliant shades of orange and red. I noticed immediately that the lawn hadn't been mowed, which was unusual. Trent always kept up with the yard work. I pulled my rolling suitcase up the front steps and unlocked the door. The house was oddly quiet. Usually, I could hear the television, or Malik playing, or Vivian's mother Carlotta talking on the phone in that loud voice of hers. I called out as I entered, announcing my return. No response. Making my way up the stairs to the 2nd floor where my bedroom was located, I noticed something strange. The door to my room was closed, and I could hear voices inside. Vivian's voice, specifically, and her father Desmond's distinctive laugh. I knocked on my own bedroom door. The voices inside stopped abruptly. Footsteps approached, and the door opened just enough for Vivian to peer out. She was a woman of 38, attractive in a calculated way, always impeccably dressed and made up even when just lounging around the house. "Oh, Theodora, you're back," she said, not opening the door wider. There was no warmth in her voice, no welcome home, no inquiry about my trip. I tried to look past her into my room, but she shifted to block my view. Something was very wrong. "Vivian, this is my bedroom. May I come in?" I kept my tone even, though irritation was beginning to build. She sighed, a put-upon sound, and finally opened the door wider. What I saw made my breath catch. My room had been completely transformed. The furniture that had been mine, pieces I had carefully selected and cherished, were gone. In their place was Carlotta and Desmond's bedroom set, the gaudy gold and white French provincial furniture that had been in the guest room. Carlotta herself was arranging items on what used to be my dresser. "And what is going on here?" I asked, my voice rising despite my attempt to stay calm. Vivian crossed her arms, her expression one of defiance rather than embarrassment. She spoke with the tone of someone explaining something obvious to a slow child. "My parents are taking your room. They need the space, and frankly, this is the best room in the house with the ensuite bathroom. You're going to stay in the garage." The words didn't make sense. Surely I had misheard. I looked past Vivian to where Carlotta stood, the older woman avoiding my eyes. Desmond was lounging in what used to be my reading chair, looking entirely too comfortable. "I'm sorry. Did you just say I'm staying in the garage? This is my house." "Vivian." She shrugged, actually shrugged, as if we were discussing something trivial. "Well, you're gone all the time anyway with your business trips. My parents are here every day. They deserve comfort. We've already moved your things. The garage is heated, and we put a cot out there for you." The audacity of it struck me speechless for a moment. This woman, whom I had welcomed into my home, who lived here rent-free, who I had helped when her family had nowhere else to go, was telling me I would be sleeping in my own garage. I found my voice, cold and steady. "Where is my son? Where is Trent?" "He's at work," Vivian said dismissively. "He knows about the arrangement. He agrees it makes sense." That statement cut deeper than anything else. My son, my boy, the child I had sacrificed everything for, had allowed this to happen, had agreed to it. I turned without another word and walked back downstairs. My hands were shaking with a combination of anger and hurt that I hadn't felt in decades. In the kitchen, I found Malik sitting at the table doing homework. His face lit up when he saw me. "Grandma T, you're back!" He jumped up and ran to hug me. I held my grandson, breathing in the smell of his hair, the one pure thing in this house. At 8 years old, he was innocent of the ugliness unfolding around him. "Hey, sweetheart, how was school this week?" I kept my voice light for his sake. "It was good. I got an A on my science test. But Grandma, why is all your stuff in the garage? Mom said you were moving out there. That doesn't seem right." Out of the mouths of babes, even an 8-year-old could see the wrongness of the situation. I kissed the top of his head. "Don't you worry about that, baby. Grandma's going to handle it." I went out through the kitchen to the attached garage. When I opened the door and flicked on the light, the sight that greeted me broke something inside my chest. Everything I owned had been carelessly thrown into cardboard boxes and trash bags. My clothes were wrinkled and piled haphazardly. My books, my photo albums, my personal papers, all jumbled together without care or organization. A camping cot had been set up in the corner with a single thin blanket. The concrete floor was cold and dirty. This was where they expected me to sleep. In my own house. I stood there for a long moment, taking it all in. The disrespect, the cruelty, the absolute audacity, and beneath all that, the pain of my son's betrayal. Because even if Vivian had orchestrated this, Trent had allowed it. But as I stood there in that cold garage, surrounded by my hastily packed life, something shifted inside me. The hurt began to transform into something else, something harder and more determined. They thought they could push me out. They thought they could take advantage of an old woman who would be too weak or too tired to fight back. They thought wrong. I pulled out my phone and made a call to the Whitmore Hotel downtown, booking a suite for the next month. Then I called a moving company that operated 24 hours. Finally, I called my lawyer, Gideon Fletcher, a man I had known for 20 years. "Gideon, I need to see you first thing Monday morning, and I need you to prepare some documents for me." When Trent came home from work 2 hours later, I was sitting in the living room waiting for him. He looked tired, his maintenance uniform stained with grease. When he saw me, his expression became guarded. "Mom, you're back. How was Seattle?" I studied my son's face. He looked so much like Vincent, the same strong jawline, the same deep-set eyes. But Vincent would never have allowed this to happen to me. "Trent, sit down. We need to talk." Chapter 2. The Confrontation. Trent sat on the edge of the sofa, not quite meeting my eyes. That alone told me everything I needed to know. He was ashamed, as he should be, but not ashamed enough to have stopped this from happening. I kept my voice level, though everything inside me was screaming. "And I want you to explain to me, in your own words, how you thought it was acceptable for your wife to move me into the garage of my own home." He flinched at my tone. Good. He should flinch. "Mom, it's not like that. It's just temporary. Carlotta and Desmond really need that room. Carlotta's back has been bothering her, and the stairs to the 3rd floor are hard on her. You're gone so much anyway." I held up my hand, cutting him off. "Stop. Stop right there. Do you hear yourself? You're justifying making your mother sleep on a cot in a garage because it's more convenient for your in-laws. They're family too, Mom. They are guests in my house. Trent, guests I welcomed when they had nowhere else to go. But you're my son. My son who I raised alone after your father died. My son who I worked 2 jobs to feed and clothe. My son whose college education I paid for. And this is how you repay me." His face reddened. "I knew you'd throw that in my face. You always do. Everything you've ever done for me, you hold over my head." The word stung, designed to deflect from his own wrongdoing by making me the villain. It was a tactic I recognized because I had seen Vivian use it countless times. "No, Trent, I don't hold it over your head. but I will not let you rewrite history to justify treating me this way. I gave you everything because I loved you, because you were my son. I never asked for anything in return except basic respect. And you can't even give me that." Vivian appeared in the doorway then, as if she had been listening. Probably had been. "This is ridiculous," she declared, walking into the room. "Theodora, you're being dramatic. It's just a bedroom. My parents need it more than you do." I stood up, drawing myself to my full height. At 5 feet 9 inches, I had always been tall, and I used every inch of it now. "Get out of my sight, Vivian. I'm talking to my son." Her eyes widened in shock. I had never spoken to her that way before. I had always been polite, accommodating, the gracious mother-in-law. Not anymore. "Excuse me. You can't talk to me like that in my own home." "Your home?" I laughed, a bitter sound. "This is my home. My name is on the deed. I pay the mortgage, the utilities, the property taxes. You live here for free, eating my food, using my water and electricity, and you have the audacity to call it your home." Trent stood up, moving between us. "Mom, please, let's all just calm down." "I am calm, Trent. Calmer than you deserve. But let me make something very clear to both of you. I am done being disrespected in my own house." Vivian's face twisted into something ugly. "You're just bitter because you're alone. Because your husband died and you never found anyone else. You're jealous that I have my parents here and you don't." The cruelty of the statement took my breath away. Trent's eyes widened, and even he seemed shocked that his wife would go there. But I didn't break. I had been through too much in my life to break over the words of a small, petty woman. My husband didn't die, Vivian. He was killed in an industrial accident because the white foreman cut corners on safety equipment to save the company money. And I didn't find anyone else, because I was too busy raising my son and building a business to survive. Don't you dare use my pain as a weapon against me. Whatever, she said, waving her hand dismissively. The point is, we need that room for my parents. And you're hardly ever here anyway. If you don't like it, you can leave. There it was. The truth laid bare. She wanted me out of my own house. I smiled then, a small, knowing smile that seemed to unnerve both of them. You know what, Vivian? You're absolutely right. I can leave, and I will, but not the way you think. I walked past them both, went to the garage, and began carrying my hastily packed belongings to my car. The moving company I had called was still an hour away, but I could start the process myself. Trent followed me out. Mom, what are you doing? Where are you going? I'm going to a hotel. I'm not staying in a garage like some unwanted pet. Mom, please, let's talk about this. We can work something out. I stopped loading boxes and turned to face my son. In the dim light of the garage, he looked young, scared. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to smooth this over like I had smoothed over so many problems in his life, but I couldn't. Not this time. Trent, I love you. You're my son, and nothing will ever change that. But I will not be disrespected this way. When you're ready to have a real conversation, when you're ready to stand up to your wife and do what's right, you know where to find me. Until then, I have nothing more to say. The moving truck arrived at 11 that night. The workers efficiently loaded everything from the garage into their truck. I gave them the address of a storage facility I had rented on the way. Then I drove to the Whitmore Hotel. The suite was beautiful, spacious, with a view of Lake Michigan. I should have felt triumphant, asserting myself this way. Instead, I felt hollowed out, exhausted, heartbroken. I sat on the king-sized bed and finally allowed myself to cry, not for the loss of my bedroom or the inconvenience of being displaced, but for my son, for the man I thought I had raised him to be versus the man he had become, for the family I thought we had versus the reality of what it was. The phone rang at midnight. It was Trent. Mom, Vivian's upset. She's saying you're being selfish, that you don't care about family. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Trent, I'm not doing this right now. I'm tired, and I'm hurt, and I'm done talking in circles. When you're ready to have a real conversation, call me. But Mom, I hung up. Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Chapter 3, The Plan. Monday morning arrived with brilliant sunshine that felt almost mocking. I woke in the hotel suite, momentarily disoriented before the events of the weekend came flooding back. My body ached, At 71, sleeping in unfamiliar beds took a toll, but my mind was sharp and clear. I had an appointment with Gideon Fletcher at 9 o'clock. I dressed carefully in one of my power suits, a navy blue ensemble that I had worn to countless business meetings. Today, I needed its armor. Gideon's office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and modern furniture. He greeted me with his usual warm smile, but it faded when he saw my expression. "Theodora, what's happened?" I told him everything. Every humiliating detail of coming home to find my belongings in the garage, the conversation with Vivian and Trent, the utter disrespect I had endured. Gideon listened without interruption, his expression growing progressively more angry on my behalf. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and whistled low. "That's unconscionable. Absolutely unconscionable." He paused, studying me. "What do you want to do?" "I want them out of my house." He nodded slowly. "We can do that. Since you own the property outright and they're not paying rent, they're considered tenants at will. We'll need to serve them with an eviction notice. In Illinois, that's typically a 30-day notice for month-to-month tenancy. Do it." "Theodora, are you sure? Once we start this process, there's no going back. Your relationship with Trent is already broken," I finished. "He allowed his wife to treat me like trash in my own home. He chose her over me. I need to accept that and protect myself." Gideon pulled out a legal pad and began making notes. "All right, I'll draft the eviction notice today. We can have it served by tomorrow. But Theodora, I need to warn you, this is going to get ugly. Vivian doesn't strike me as the type to go quietly. Let it get ugly. I'm done being nice." We spent the next hour discussing the details. The eviction notice would give them 30 days to vacate the property. After that, if they refused to leave, I could file for a formal eviction with the court. Gideon also suggested I change the locks immediately after they moved out and consider a restraining order if things escalated. "And there's something else," I said as our meeting was winding down. "The business sale finalized last week. $8 million. Gideon's eyebrows rose. "Congratulations. That's incredible. Trent doesn't know yet. I was planning to tell him this weekend, to share the good news and discuss how I wanted to help him and Malik financially. Set up a trust fund for my grandson. Help Trent start his own business like he's always talked about. But now you're reconsidering. Yes, I still want to provide for Malik. He's innocent in all this. But Trent and Vivian? I need to think carefully about what I'm willing to do." Gideon nodded. "Smart. Money changes people, Theodora. If they find out about this windfall, things could get even messier. My advice? Keep it quiet for now. Focus on getting them out of your house, then decide what to do next." I left Gideon's office feeling more in control than I had in days. I had a plan. I was taking action. I wasn't going to be a victim. The rest of Monday, I spent handling practical matters. I went to the storage facility and began organizing my belongings. It was therapeutic in a way, handling each item, deciding what to keep close and what could stay in storage. I found photo albums from when Trent was little, pictures of Vincent holding our baby son, images of birthday parties and Christmases, and ordinary moments that had seemed so insignificant at the time, but now felt precious. I allowed myself a few tears as I looked at these memories, the happy family we had been, the dreams I had for my son, how far we had strayed from those simpler times. Tuesday afternoon, Gideon called to inform me that the eviction notice had been served. The process server had gone to the house at 2 p.m. and personally handed the documents to Vivian. According to the server, she had turned bright red, started screaming, and slammed the door in his face. "Well," I said dryly, "I suppose that was expected. Theodora, be prepared. She's going to retaliate somehow. People like her always do." He was right. My phone, which I had finally turned back on, immediately started blowing up with calls and texts. Trent called 7 times in a row. Vivian left a voicemail so filled with profanity and threats that it actually constituted harassment. Even Carlotta and Desmond sent messages, alternating between begging me to reconsider and accusing me of being a heartless old woman. I listened to none of them in full. I saved the voicemails as evidence, as Gideon had instructed, then blocked their numbers. If they wanted to communicate, it could be through lawyers. Wednesday, things escalated further. I received a call from Malik's school. Apparently, Vivian had tried to have me removed from his emergency contact list and had told the school I was dangerous and unstable. The school administrator, a woman named Mrs. Patterson, whom I had known for 3 years, called me directly. "Mrs. Westlake, I have to tell you, this is highly unusual. Vivian was quite insistent, but since you're listed as a legal guardian and we have no court orders stating otherwise, I can't just remove you from the list. What's going on?" I explained the situation in broad terms. A family dispute, an eviction, nothing that put Malik in danger. Mrs. Patterson sighed. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this. For what it's worth, Malik talks about you all the time. It's clear he loves his grandmother very much. I won't make any changes without proper legal documentation." I thanked her and added this incident to my growing list of Vivian's retaliatory actions. Thursday brought a new surprise. I received a Facebook friend request from someone I didn't know, a woman named Shanice Cooper. When I accepted out of curiosity, she immediately sent me a message. "Mrs. Westlake, you don't know me, but I'm a friend of Carlotta's. She's been telling everyone at church that you're kicking them out for no reason, that you're a cruel woman who doesn't care about family. I just wanted you to know that not everyone believes her. My own mother-in-law stayed with us for 2 years, and when she started acting entitled and disrespectful, I had to ask her to leave too. Sometimes family takes advantage. I'm praying for you." The message was unexpectedly touching. I responded with thanks, and realized that Vivian and her family were trying to mount a smear campaign against me in the community. They wanted to paint me as the villain, the heartless old woman throwing out her family. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that I had spent 50 years building a reputation in this community. I had employed people from the neighborhood in my business. I had donated to local schools and churches. I had mentored young Black women starting their own businesses. My reputation could withstand their lies. Friday, exactly a week after I had returned from Seattle to find my belongings in the garage, I received a surprise visit at the hotel. The front desk called up to my suite to announce I had a visitor, my nephew Dashiell, Trent's cousin from my late husband's side of the family. I hadn't seen Dashiell in months, but when he appeared at my door, I was struck by how much he had matured. At 35, he was a successful attorney himself, working in corporate law. "Aunt Theodora," he said, pulling me into a hug. I heard what happened. Uncle Jerome told me. Jerome was Vincent's brother, a man I had stayed close with over the years. Of course he would tell Dashiell. I invited him in, ordered room service coffee, and we sat down to talk. "Aunt T, I'm going to be blunt. What Trent did is unforgivable. I love my cousin, but he's wrong. Dead wrong." Hearing someone from the family validate my feelings was more powerful than I expected. I found myself tearing up. Dashiell continued. "I talked to Trent yesterday, tried to get through to him, but he's so under Vivian's thumb that he can't see straight. She's got him convinced that you're being unreasonable, that you should just accept the new arrangement. What about everyone else? What's the family saying? It's mixed. Some people think you should be more accommodating because family is family, but most of us think you're doing the right thing. Uncle Jerome wants you to know that he's got your back, whatever you need." That night, for the first time since this nightmare began, I slept peacefully. I wasn't alone. I had support, and I had a plan. Dari, Chapter 4, The Revelation. The following Monday, the beginning of week 3 since I'd been displaced from my home, I did something I had been dreading. I went back to the house, not to live, but to collect some additional items I needed and to check on the property. It was still my house, after all, and I had every right to be there. I arrived at 10 in the morning, knowing that Trent would be at work. Vivian usually went shopping at this time, and Malik would be at school. I wanted to avoid confrontation if possible, but as I pulled into the driveway, I saw Vivian's car was still there. My stomach tightened, but I refused to be intimidated. This was my house. I used my key to enter through the front door. The house looked different somehow, less cared for. Mail was piled on the entry table. Dishes were visible in the sink through the kitchen doorway, and the general air of tidiness I had always maintained was gone. I headed upstairs to what used to be the guest room, where I had some boxes of business documents stored in the closet. As I climbed the stairs, I heard voices. Vivian's voice, and a man's voice that definitely wasn't Trent's. My heart started pounding. I should have turned around and left, but something made me continue up the stairs, moving quietly. The voices were coming from my old bedroom, the one that Carlotta and Desmond had taken over, but clearly they weren't the ones in there now. Through the partially open door, I could see Vivian and a man I didn't recognize. They were sitting very close together on the bed, his arm around her waist. The man was younger than Trent, maybe in his mid-30s, athletic build, well-dressed. Vivian was laughing at something he said, her hand on his chest. Then he leaned in and kissed her, and she kissed him back. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a sharp intake of breath, because they both suddenly turned toward the door. Vivian's face went from flushed and happy to sheet white in an instant. "Theodora, what are you doing here?" I found my voice, cold and steady despite the shock. "I believe I should be asking you that question. Actually, I know what you're doing. The question is, does my son know?" The man stood up quickly, looking between us nervously. "Look, I didn't know she was married. She told me she was divorced. Get out," I said to him, my voice leaving no room for argument. "Get out of my house right now." He didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed his jacket and practically ran past me, down the stairs, and out the front door. Vivian stood up, her expression transforming from guilty to defiant in seconds. "This is your fault. You pushed me to this." "My fault? My fault that you're cheating on my son. If you hadn't been so difficult, so unwilling to share your house like a normal person, I wouldn't have been so stressed." Daryl makes me feel appreciated. The twisted logic of it actually made me laugh. "Vivian, you have lived in my house rent-free for 2 years. I welcomed your parents when they had nowhere to go. I've been nothing but accommodating. And when I was away on a business trip, you threw my belongings in the garage like garbage. But somehow I'm the problem. Yes, you're always throwing it in our faces that this is your house, your money, your everything. Trent deserves better than a mother who holds everything over his head. And Trent deserves better than a wife who cheats on him in his mother's bed." Her face flushed angry red. "You're going to tell him, aren't you? You can't wait to ruin my marriage." "Vivian, you ruined your own marriage. I'm just a witness to it." I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. "Please, please don't tell Trent. I'll leave. I'll take my parents and go. Just give me time to find a place. Don't destroy my family." I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. For a moment, I almost felt pity. She looked genuinely frightened, younger than her 38 years. "Let go of me, Vivian." She released my arm. "You have 9 days left on your eviction notice," I said. "I suggest you use them to find somewhere else to live. As for Trent, that's between you and him. But if he asks me directly, I won't lie to him." I left the house without getting the documents I had come for. They didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that I now had even more evidence of Vivian's true character. I sat in my car for a long moment before starting the engine. My hands were shaking, not from fear or anger, but from adrenaline and something else. Sadness, deep, aching sadness for my son, who had chosen this woman, who had defended her over me, who had no idea what she really was. I called Gideon from the car. "I need to talk to you. Something's happened." An hour later, I was sitting in his office, recounting what I had witnessed. Gideon listened with his typical calm professional demeanor, but I could see the anger in his eyes. "Do you want to tell Trent?" he asked when I finished. "I don't know. Part of me wants to. He deserves to know. But another part of me thinks, what's the point? He didn't believe me when I told him his wife was treating me horribly. Will he believe this? Or will he find a way to blame me for this too? Theodora, this isn't your responsibility. You didn't cause this situation. You didn't make Vivian cheat. That's on her. I know, but he's still my son, and this is going to hurt him so much." Gideon leaned forward. "Here's what I think. Document what you saw. Write it down with dates, times, descriptions. Keep it for your records. But give Trent the chance to figure this out on his own. If he comes to you and asks, be honest. But don't carry the burden of being the messenger. You've carried enough already." I took his advice. I went back to the hotel and wrote down everything I had witnessed in detail. Then I put it in an envelope and gave it to Gideon for safekeeping. The universe, however, had other plans about when Trent would find out. Chapter 5, The Unraveling. 2 days after I witnessed Vivian's affair, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, still being cautious about who I spoke with. But something made me pick up. "Mrs. Westlake, this is Daryl Freeman, the man from your house the other day." I was silent, waiting for him to continue. "I need to talk to you." Please. I know you have no reason to trust me or give me the time of day, but there are things you need to know. Things about Vivian and what she's been planning. Planning. Not over the phone. Can we meet somewhere public? I swear I'm not trying to cause trouble. The opposite, actually. I'm trying to prevent it. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop in neutral territory. A Starbucks in Lincoln Park. I arrived early, chose a table with a clear view of the entrance, and waited. Daryl arrived exactly on time. Up close, in different circumstances, I could see why Vivian might have been attracted to him. He was handsome, well-groomed, with an earnest quality to his expression. He sat down across from me, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee he'd purchased at the counter. Thank you for meeting me. I know this is awkward. That's an understatement. You were sleeping with my daughter-in-law in my house. He flinched. I know, and I'm sorry, truly sorry. But like I said the other day, I didn't know she was married. She told me she was divorced, living with her parents temporarily while she got back on her feet financially. And you believed her? I had no reason not to. We met at a networking event 3 months ago. She said she was a business consultant. She was charming, funny, seemed genuine. We started seeing each other casually. She would always come to my place, said her living situation was complicated with her parents there. I thought we were just having fun, nothing serious. So why are you here, Daryl? Why tell me any of this? He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot of a text conversation. It was from Vivian, sent 2 weeks ago, before I had returned from Seattle. The text made my blood run cold. Once the old lady's out of the picture, Vivian had written, we'll have full control of the house. Trent's completely whipped. He'll sign whatever I put in front of him. Then I can file for divorce, take half of everything including the house, and we can be together properly. The house alone is worth at least $800K in this neighborhood. Daryl showed me more texts, detailing a plan that was breathtakingly cold and calculated. Vivian had been planning to push me out, get me to sign over power of attorney to Trent under the guise of helping me in my old age, then have Trent deed the house to both of them. Once the house was in her name, she would divorce Trent, take her half, and move on with Daryl. When did you find out she was married? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The day you walked in. When she introduced me as someone who didn't know she was married, I pulled back, started asking questions. That's when she sent me these other texts, trying to get me back on board with the plan. But Mrs. Westlake, I'm not a homewrecker. I'm not a con artist. I thought I was dating a single woman. When I realized what she was really doing, using me as part of some scheme to defraud her husband and mother-in-law, I wanted no part of it. I stared at the texts on his phone, reading them over and over. The cruelty, the calculation, the complete lack of conscience. This was who my son had married. This was the woman he had chosen over me. Why show me this? You could have just walked away, because your son doesn't deserve this, and honestly, because you don't deserve it either. I've done some digging since that day. You're Theodora Westlake. You built a successful business from nothing. You've helped dozens of people in this community. I talked to some people who know you, and everyone says you're one of the most decent, hardworking people they've ever met. What Vivian did, planning to steal your house, destroy your relationship with your son, it's evil. I can't be part of that. He forwarded all the texts to my phone, along with some other documentation he had. Photos of Vivian at expensive restaurants that she had claimed were business meetings, credit card statements showing charges to hotels when she had told Trent she was visiting friends. There's more, Daryl said. I'm an accountant. When Vivian thought I was still on board with her plan, she asked me to look at some financial documents. She's been stealing from your son. Small amounts at first, from their joint account, but it's been adding up. She's got over $40,000 in a separate account Trent doesn't know about. The scope of the betrayal was staggering. This wasn't just about disrespecting me or having an affair. This was fraud, theft, a calculated long-term con against her own family. Daryl, I need copies of everything you have. All the texts, all the financial documents, everything. I already prepared it for you. He handed me a thumb drive. It's all on here. Bank statements, text messages, photos, everything. I've also prepared a written statement about what I know, signed and dated. I've sent a copy to my own lawyer to hold in case anything happens to me. Vivian. She's not stable, Mrs. Westlake. When I told her I was done, that I wasn't going to be part of her scheme, she threatened me. Said she'd ruin my reputation, claim I forced myself on her, destroy my career. She's dangerous. I took the thumb drive, holding it like the precious evidence it was. Thank you, Daryl. Whatever your initial mistakes, you're doing the right thing now. There's one more thing. Vivian's parents, Carlotta and Desmond, they know about her plan. They're in on it. That's why they needed your bedroom. They're not just staying temporarily. They were planning to be there permanently, helping Vivian maintain control of the property. Of course, the pieces were clicking into place now. The aggressive takeover of my room, the immediate eviction of me to the garage, the smear campaign. It was all part of a larger plan to push me out of my own house and eventually steal it from under me. I left the coffee shop with the thumb drive burning a hole in my purse. I went straight to Gideon's office. Even though it was after hours, I called him and he agreed to meet me. When I showed him everything Daryl had given me, Gideon's expression went from concerned to furious to grimly satisfied. Theodora, this is huge. This is fraud, potentially wire fraud, since she's been transferring money electronically. This is evidence of conspiracy. We need to take this to the police. Not yet, I said. I need to tell Trent first. He needs to hear this from me. Are you sure? Given how he's acted, do you really want to protect him? He's still my son, and despite everything, he doesn't deserve to be defrauded and stolen from. He needs to know what his wife really is. Gideon nodded slowly. Okay, but I'm going to prepare a comprehensive legal package with all of this evidence. Police report, restraining orders, everything. Because when you tell Trent, and when Vivian finds out that we know, things are going to explode. That night, I called Trent. He answered on the third ring, his voice wary. Mom? Trent, I need to talk to you. In person. It's important. Can you meet me tomorrow for lunch? Just you, not Vivian. There was a long pause. I don't know, Mom. Vivian says you're trying to turn me against her. Trent, please. I'm your mother. Whatever else has happened between us, I'm still your mother. Give me 1 hour. If after hearing what I have to say, you never want to talk to me again, I'll accept that. But please, give me this 1 hour. Another long pause. Then, quietly, okay. Where? Nabartas Chapter 6. The truth comes out. I chose a quiet restaurant in the South Loop, far enough from our neighborhood that we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. I arrived 15 minutes early, ordered tea, and tried to calm my nerves. This conversation was going to destroy my son's world, but he needed to know the truth. Trent arrived exactly on time, looking tired and older than his 43 years. He sat down across from me, his body language defensive, arms crossed, shoulders hunched. Thanks for coming, I said softly. I almost didn't. Vivian said you'd try to manipulate me, turn me against her. Trent, what I'm about to tell you and show you has nothing to do with manipulation. It's evidence, facts, and I'm sorry, so deeply sorry, that you have to hear this. I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder containing all the evidence Daryl had provided. Then I started from the beginning. I told him about walking in on Vivian with Daryl, watched his face crumble, saw the denial flash across his features. Before he could interrupt or defend her, I showed him the texts, the ones detailing the plan to steal the house, the financial records showing the stolen money, the proof of an affair that had lasted months, not a one-time mistake. Trent's face went through a series of emotions: shock, disbelief, denial, anger, and finally, devastating heartbreak. His hands shook as he scrolled through the evidence on my laptop. No, he kept saying. No, this can't be real. Vivian wouldn't. She loves me. She loves our family. Trent, baby, I know this hurts. I know it's destroying you to see this. But it's real, all of it. And there's more. I showed him the financial records. The $40,000 Vivian had squirreled away, money taken from their joint account over the course of their marriage. He pushed the laptop away, putting his head in his hands. I could see his shoulders shaking. My son was crying, and every instinct in me wanted to fix it, to make it better, but I couldn't. Some pain can't be fixed. It can only be survived. I'm so sorry, Trent. I'm so sorry. He looked up at me, his eyes red and wet. You were right. You tried to tell me she was wrong, that what she did to you was wrong, and I didn't listen. I chose her over you, my own mother. Trent? No, let me say this. I let my wife disrespect you in your own house. I allowed her to move you into the garage like you were nothing. Like everything you've done for me my whole life meant nothing. And you were right about her all along. I didn't want to be right. I would have given anything to be wrong about her. We sat in silence for a long moment. The restaurant continued its lunch service around us, people laughing and talking, oblivious to the personal tragedy unfolding at our table. What do I do, Mom? How do I even face her knowing this? That's up to you, son. But I can tell you this. You don't owe her protection or discretion. She certainly wasn't protecting you. You have every right to be angry, to confront her, to make decisions that protect you and Malik. Malik. Trent's face crumpled again. My son, this is going to destroy him. His mother is a liar and a thief and a cheater, and he's going to find out. Kids are resilient, and Malik has something Vivian doesn't. People who genuinely love him. He has you. He has me. We'll get through this together. Why didn't you tell me sooner? About walking in on her? Because I wasn't sure you would believe me. You've been defending her for so long. I thought it would just drive you further away. But when Daryl came to me with all this evidence, I knew I couldn't keep silent anymore. Trent nodded slowly, processing. I need to go home. I need to confront her. Are you sure you want to do that alone? Trent, Vivian is dangerous. Daryl said she threatened him when he tried to end things. She's desperate, and desperate people do unpredictable things. She's my wife. I need to handle this. I reached across the table and took his hand, the way I used to when he was little and scraped his knee or had a bad dream. Then let me come with you. Not to interfere, but to be there. As backup, please. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay. We drove separately to the house. My heart was pounding as we pulled into the driveway. Vivian's car was there. So was her father's truck. Great. This was going to be even messier than I thought. Trent used his key to enter. I followed behind him, steeling myself for whatever was about to happen. Vivian was in the living room with Carlotta and Desmond. They all looked up when we entered, and the expressions on their faces ranged from annoyed, Vivian, to surprised, Carlotta, to hostile, Desmond. What is she doing here? Vivian demanded, pointing at me. Trent, you know she's not welcome in this house anymore. This is her house, Vivian. Trent's voice was cold, flat. I'd never heard him sound like that. It's always been her house. We've just been living in it. Vivian's eyes narrowed. What's going on? Why are you talking like that? I know everything, Vivian. The affair, the stolen money, the plan to steal this house, everything. The room went silent. Vivian's face cycled through several expressions, finally landing on outrage. Affair? What are you talking about? Trent, your mother has been poisoning you against me. Can't you see what she's doing? Trent pulled out his phone and pulled up the screenshots I had sent him. These are your texts, Vivian, to Daryl, the man you've been sleeping with for 3 months. The man you were planning a whole future with after you defrauded me and my mother. Vivian's face went pale. Carlotta gasped. Desmond stood up, his expression thunderous. Where did you get those? Vivian demanded. Those are private. Daryl gave them to my mother. He wanted no part of your scheme once he realized you were married and planning to commit fraud. That lying son of a... Don't. Trent's voice cut through her words like a knife. Don't you dare try to make him the villain here. You're the one who lied. You're the one who cheated. You're the one who stole from me, from us, from our family. Vivian's strategy shifted. Her face softened, tears forming in her eyes. Baby, okay, yes, I made mistakes, but we can work through this. I love you. I love our family. I was just confused, stressed. Your mother has been so difficult, and I felt trapped, and I made bad choices. But it doesn't mean anything. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. You stole $40,000 from our account, Vivian. You plan to steal my mother's house. That's not stress. That's not confusion. That's crime. Desmond stepped forward, his face red with anger. Now you wait just a minute. My daughter made some mistakes, but she doesn't deserve to be attacked like this. Where's your Christian forgiveness? Where's your commitment to your marriage vows? I couldn't stay silent anymore. Your daughter planned to commit fraud and theft. She's been running a con on your entire family, and you two were in on it. Don't stand there and talk about Christian values when you've been helping her plan to steal my house. Carlotta started crying. We didn't know. We didn't know she was planning anything illegal. She said you were going to sign the house over to them eventually anyway, and we were just staying temporarily. Mom, shut up, Vivian hissed. But Carlotta continued. The dam broken. I told you this was wrong. I told you we shouldn't have taken Theodora's room, but you said it would be fine, that she'd get over it, that we deserved to be comfortable. I said, shut up. The facade was crumbling. Vivian's perfect mask was slipping, revealing the calculating, cold person underneath. She turned back to Trent, her tears gone, replaced by something harder. Fine. You want to do this? Let's do this. Yeah. I had an affair. Yeah. I took some money. But you know what, Trent? I earned it. 5 years I've put up with your pathetic salary, your lack of ambition, your mommy issues. 5 years of living under your mother's roof, under her judgment. I deserve that money for putting up with this family. Get out. Trent's voice was quiet but absolute. Get out of this house. Now. You can't kick me out. I have rights. I'm your wife. You have 3 days left on the eviction notice. And now you have a choice. You can leave voluntarily right now. Take your parents, and we'll discuss divorce terms through lawyers like civilized people. Or you can stay, fight the eviction, and I'll file a police report for the theft. Your choice. Vivian's eyes went wide. The reality that she had lost, that her plan had completely fallen apart, was sinking in. You wouldn't dare. Think about Malik. Think about what a scandal would do to him. I am thinking about Malik. I'm thinking that he deserves better than a mother who's a thief and a liar. I'm thinking that I need to protect him from you. That's when Vivian lunged at me. Chapter 7. The breaking point. Everything happened so fast. One moment Vivian was standing across the room, her face twisted with rage. The next, she had crossed the distance between us and was screaming in my face, her hands raised. This is all your fault. You ruined everything. You couldn't just leave well enough alone. Trent grabbed her, pulling her back before she could actually strike me. But the venom in her voice, the pure hatred on her face, was more violent than any physical blow. Vivian, stop. Trent was struggling to hold her back. She was flailing, trying to break free, still screaming. She turned you against me. She's a bitter old woman who can't stand to see anyone else happy. I hate her. I hate both of you. Desmond finally intervened, helping Trent restrain his daughter. Carlotta was sobbing in the corner, her hands covering her face. I stepped back, my heart racing. I had expected anger, confrontation, denial. But this level of unhinged fury, it was frightening. Trent's voice was firm, controlled despite the chaos. Vivian, you need to calm down, right now, or I'm calling the police. That seemed to penetrate through her rage. She stopped struggling, her chest heaving, mascara running down her face. She looked at Trent, then at me, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not remorse, calculation. She was already planning her next move. Fine, she said, her voice suddenly eerily calm. Fine, we'll leave, but you're going to regret this, Trent. Both of you. I'll make sure of it. Is that a threat? I asked, pulling out my phone. Because I'm recording this conversation now, Vivian. Everything you say can and will be used in court. Her face flushed red again, but she pressed her lips together, refusing to say more. Trent let her go, stepping back. I want you all out by tomorrow morning. Take your personal belongings. Nothing that belongs to my mother. Nothing that belongs to me. My lawyer will be here to supervise if necessary. What about Malik? Vivian's voice cracked. And you can't keep my son from me. Malik is at school. When I pick him up, I'll talk to him. We'll figure out custody arrangements through proper legal channels. But tonight, you're not staying here. Carlotta finally found her voice, weak and trembling. Where are we supposed to go? I surprised myself by answering, Carlotta, there's a comfort inn about 3 miles from here. I'll pay for a week's stay for you and Desmond. Not for Vivian. She can figure out her own accommodations. But you two, you're older. And despite being part of this, I believe you when you say you didn't know the full extent of what she was planning. Carlotta looked at me with such surprise and gratitude that I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Thank you, Theodora. Thank you. I'm so sorry. So very sorry for everything. The next hour was tense, as Vivian, Carlotta and Desmond packed their essential belongings. I stayed in the living room with Trent, both of us silent, processing everything that had happened. Finally, Trent spoke. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything. For not believing you. For choosing her over you. For letting her treat you that way. I don't know if you can ever forgive me." I took his hand. "Trent, you're my son. I love you. That doesn't mean what happened doesn't hurt. It does. Deeply. But I understand that you were manipulated by someone you trusted. We'll work through this. Together. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not," I said honestly. "But you're going to get it anyway, because that's what mothers do. We love our children even when they break our hearts." When Vivian finally came downstairs with her bags, she paused in the doorway. She looked at me, and for just a moment, I saw something almost vulnerable in her expression. I really did love him once, you know. In the beginning, before everything got so complicated. "Then you should have protected that love," I replied, "instead of destroying it for money." She flinched, then walked out without another word. After they left, the house felt different, lighter somehow, despite the heaviness of what had just transpired. Trent and I sat in the kitchen, drinking coffee, neither of us quite knowing what to say. "When do you pick up Malik?" I asked finally. "In an hour. I'm dreading it. How do I tell him his mother isn't coming home?" "You tell him the truth. Age-appropriate truth. But truth. He's 8 years old. He's smart. He already knows something's been wrong. The worst thing you could do is lie to him. Will you come with me? To pick him up? To talk to him?" Of course. When we arrived at Malik's school, he came running out, his backpack bouncing on his shoulders, his face lighting up when he saw both of us. "Dad! Grandma T! Are you both here to get me?" He climbed into the back seat, chattering about his day, about a test he got an A on, about a game he played at recess. Normal childhood things. Innocent things. We took him to the park near our house, found a quiet bench while he played for a few minutes. Then Trent called him over. "Buddy, I need to talk to you about something important." Malik's smile faded. Kids always know. They can sense when serious conversations are coming. "Is someone sick? Did somebody die?" "No, baby. But your mom isn't going to be living with us for a while. She and I are having some grown-up problems, and she's going to stay somewhere else." "Are you getting divorced?" The bluntness of the question caught Trent off guard. "Probably. Yes. I'm sorry, Malik. I know this is hard to understand." "It's okay, Dad." Malik's voice was small but brave. "Kyle in my class. His parents got divorced last year. He said it was sad, but then it got better." "Will it get better for us?" I felt tears prick my eyes. This beautiful, resilient boy. "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "It will get better. It'll be different, but it'll be good. You'll still have your dad, and you'll still have me, and we're going to make sure you're okay." "Will I still see Mom?" "Yes," Trent said. "We'll work that out. But Malik, I need you to know something. None of this is your fault. Not one bit of it. Your mom and I have problems that have nothing to do with you. You're the best thing that ever happened to either of us, and that'll never change." Malik nodded, processing. Then he looked at me. "Grandma T, are you moving back home? Do you want me to?" "Yes. It wasn't the same without you. And it was weird that you were in the garage. That never made sense. Children and their clarity. Then yes, baby. I'm moving back home." That night, after Malik was asleep in his room, after we had established some semblance of normalcy with dinner and homework and bedtime routines, Trent and I sat on the porch of my house, our house, and watched the streetlights come on. "I called a lawyer today," Trent said. "Filed for divorce. With the evidence of her affair and the theft, he says I'll probably get primary custody. How do you feel about that?" Terrified, relieved, angry, sad, all of it. He paused. "Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. How did you do it? After Dad died, how did you keep going? Raise me alone? Build a business? Stay strong?" I thought about that question for a long moment. Honestly, I didn't always feel strong. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, days I didn't think I could take one more step. But I had you, and you needed me. That's what kept me going. Love, purpose, and a stubborn refusal to let life break me. I want to be like that for Malik. You already are, son. You already are. Chapter 8. Rebuilding. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, therapy sessions, and adjustments. I moved back into my bedroom, which required a complete renovation because I couldn't stand to sleep in the same space where Vivian and her parents had been, where she had betrayed my son. I had the room repainted, new furniture brought in, made it mine again. Vivian hired a lawyer, an aggressive woman named Patricia Novak, who immediately went on the offensive. She filed counterclaims alleging that Trent had been financially abusive, that I had manipulated the situation, that she deserved alimony and half of all marital assets. But Gideon was better. With the evidence we had, the texts, the financial records, Daryl's testimony, we built an airtight case. When Vivian's lawyer saw what we had, her tune changed quickly. She advised Vivian to settle. The divorce proceedings revealed even more uncomfortable truths. Vivian had credit cards Trent didn't know about, maxed out to nearly $30,000. She had been gambling online, losing thousands. The affair with Daryl wasn't her first. There had been others over the years. Each revelation was another wound for Trent. I watched my son age a decade in those weeks, but I also watched him grow stronger. He went to therapy, both individual and with Malik. He threw himself into being a present, active father. He started planning for a future that didn't include Vivian. Malik struggled, as any child would. Some days he was angry at Vivian. Some days he missed her desperately and cried for her. Some days he seemed fine, playing and laughing like nothing had changed. We got him into therapy with a child psychologist who specialized in divorce and family trauma. I made sure to be there for my grandson in all the ways I hadn't been allowed to be before. Homework help, bedtime stories, teaching him to cook my mother's recipes, passing down that connection to his heritage. Slowly, our household found a new rhythm. Vivian was given supervised visitation with Malik every other weekend. The first few visits were tense. Malik would come home confused and upset. Vivian would spend the time trying to turn him against Trent and me, telling him we were mean, that we had ruined their family. But Malik was smarter than she gave him credit for. He saw through her manipulation, and each time she tried it, he pulled away from her a little more. 3 months after the confrontation, the divorce was finalized. Trent got primary custody of Malik. Vivian got visitation rights and was ordered to pay child support, which was laughable given her financial situation. But at least it was on record. She got none of the house, none of Trent's retirement accounts. Nothing. The judge had not been sympathetic to her claims given the evidence of fraud and theft. Vivian was also charged with theft. The district attorney's office, seeing the clear evidence of her stealing from Trent, decided to prosecute. She eventually pled guilty to a lesser charge and was sentenced to 2 years probation and ordered to repay the stolen money. Carlotta and Desmond, true to form, stood by their daughter despite everything. They cut off contact with us completely, which was fine by me. I had kept my promise to pay for their hotel stay for a week, but after that, they were on their own. Throughout all of this, I hadn't told anyone about the business sale. Not Trent, not Malik, no one except Gideon and my accountant. The money sat in investments, growing, waiting for the right time to reveal it. That time came on a Saturday in December, almost 4 months after everything had fallen apart. End. Chapter 9. The gift. I invited Trent and Malik to have a special dinner with me. Just the 3 of us. I cooked all of Trent's favorite foods from his childhood. Fried chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread. The smells filled the house, rich and comforting. After dinner, after Malik had been sent upstairs to play video games for a bit, I asked Trent to sit with me in the living room. I need to tell you something I should have told you months ago, but the timing was never right. He looked concerned. Mom, are you sick? Is something wrong? No, baby, nothing's wrong. In fact, something's very right. I pulled out a folder I had prepared. You remember that business trip I was on when I came home to find my belongings in the garage? Of course. I'll never forget that. I was in Seattle finalizing the sale of my company. Trent. I sold Westlake Consulting for $8 million. The color drained from his face. He stared at me, mouth opening and closing, unable to form words. $8 million. $8 million. After taxes and fees, I netted about $5.5 million. Mom, that's incredible. Congratulations. You built that company from nothing. You deserve every penny. He paused. Wait, did Vivian know? No. No one knew except my lawyer and accountant. And it's a good thing, too. Because if she had known, her schemes would have been even more aggressive. Trent shook his head in disbelief. I can't believe you kept that to yourself through everything that happened. I had to. I had to see how things played out. Who people really were. And now I know. I slid the folder across to him. Open it. Inside was a check for $500,000 made out to Trent, along with legal documents establishing a trust fund for Malik with $2 million that he would receive in increments at ages 25, 30, and 35. Trent stared at the check like it was a foreign object. Mom, I can't. This is too much. I don't deserve this after how I treated you. Trent, that money isn't a reward for good behavior. It's an investment in your future, and Malik's future. You're my son. I want you to have the freedom to make choices. Maybe start that business you've always talked about. Maybe just have a cushion so you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Whatever you want. I don't know what to say. Say you'll use it wisely. Say you'll teach Malik about financial responsibility. Say you'll remember that money doesn't make you happy, but it can give you options. And options are freedom. He stood up and hugged me. This big grown man who was once my little boy. I could feel him shaking, crying silently against my shoulder. I love you, Mom. Thank you for everything. For never giving up on me, even when I gave up on you. For being strong enough for both of us. We called Malik down and told him about the trust fund. At 8, he couldn't fully grasp what $2 million meant, but he understood it was a lot of money and that his Grandma T had done something special for him. Does this mean I'm rich? He asked, his eyes wide. No, baby, I said. It means you have a head start. But you still have to work hard, study hard, be a good person. Money doesn't make you rich. Character makes you rich. This is just a tool to help you build a good life. That night, after they had gone upstairs, I sat alone in my living room and felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Peace. Real, genuine peace. Everything I had worked for, sacrificed for, fought for. It had been worth it. Not because of the money, although that was nice, but because I had protected my family. I had stood up for myself when everyone told me to back down. I had exposed the truth even when it was painful. And I had survived. Chapter 10. The Shadow. The peace lasted exactly 3 weeks. It was a Tuesday evening in January. Trent was working late, and Malik was upstairs doing homework. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Theodora. Vivian's voice. Slurred and angry. She was drunk or high or both. Vivian, you shouldn't be calling me. All communication is supposed to go through lawyers. I know about the money. My blood ran cold. What? I know you sold your company. I know you got millions. And you know what? I'm going to sue you for it. I'm going to claim that you manipulated Trent during our marriage, turned him against me, and I deserve compensation. That's ridiculous. You have no legal standing. Maybe not, but I'll make it public. I'll go to every news outlet that'll listen. Black woman hoards millions while her family struggles. I'll make you look terrible. I'll make sure everyone knows what a selfish old bitch you are. The venom in her voice was chilling, but I had learned something over these past months. Bullies and manipulators only have power if you give it to them. Vivian, record this carefully. If you make any defamatory public statements about me or my family, I will sue you for slander. If you violate the terms of your divorce agreement by harassing us, I will file for a restraining order and have your visitation with Malik suspended. And if you think any news outlet is going to take your side when they find out you're a convicted thief who defrauded your husband and mother-in-law, you're delusional. There was silence on the other end. Then, you think you've won, but this isn't over. I'll find a way to make you pay. Vivian, listen to me. You lost. Not because I'm powerful or because I have money. You lost because you're a person who hurts the people who love you. You had a good man who adored you. You had a beautiful son. You had a family who welcomed you. And you destroyed all of it for greed. The only person who made you pay is you. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. I immediately called Gideon and reported the call. He advised me to save the recording, which I had automatically made using an app he'd suggested, and to file a police report if she contacted me again. That night, I had trouble sleeping. Vivian's threat hung over me like a dark cloud. I had thought we were past this, that she would fade into the background of our lives. But clearly, She wasn't going to go quietly. The next day, I got a call from Malik's school. Vivian had shown up during lunch, trying to take him out of school. She was not on the approved list of people who could withdraw him, and she had caused a scene when the office staff refused to release him. The police had been called, and she had been escorted off the property. Malik was terrified. When I arrived to pick him up, he was crying in the principal's office. "Grandma T, why was Mom acting so crazy? She was screaming and crying and saying she needed to save me from you and Dad. Why would she say that?" I held him close, fury and protectiveness warring inside me. "Your mom is not well, baby. She's made some bad choices and she's hurting, and sometimes when people hurt, they do things that don't make sense. But you're safe. Dad and I will always keep you safe." That afternoon, Gideon filed for an emergency restraining order. With the evidence of Vivian's harassment, her probation violation, the scene at the school, and the testimony of the school staff, the judge granted it immediately. Vivian was to stay at least 500 feet away from me, Trent, and Malik at all times. Her visitation with Malik was suspended pending a psychological evaluation. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, I came home from grocery shopping to find graffiti spray-painted across my garage door. Vile words, accusations, threats. The whole neighborhood could see it. I called the police. They took a report, took photos, but said without proof of who did it. There wasn't much they could do. But I knew. We all knew. That night, Trent and I had a difficult conversation. "Mom, maybe you should sell the house. Move somewhere she doesn't know about. Start fresh. Run away. Let her win. It's not about winning or losing anymore. It's about safety. If she's escalating like this, who knows what she might do next?" He had a point. But the idea of leaving my home, the house I had worked so hard to buy, the house that represented everything I had built, it felt like defeat. "Let me think about it," I said finally. The answer came 2 days later, in the most unexpected way. I was at the grocery store when a woman approached me. She was around my age, well-dressed, with kind eyes. "Excuse me, are you Theodora Westlake?" I was immediately on guard. "Yes." "Why?" "I'm Nadine Freeman, Daryl Freeman's mother." My expression must have shown my surprise, because she held up her hands quickly. "Please, I just want to talk. Can I buy you a coffee?" Against my better judgment, I agreed. We went to a small cafe nearby and sat in a quiet corner. "Mrs. Westlake, my son told me everything. What Vivian did, how he was unknowingly part of her scheme, how he tried to make it right by coming to you with evidence. I wanted to thank you for not including him in the legal mess that followed. Your son did the right thing. Eventually, that counts for something. He feels terrible about his role in all of this. But that's not why I'm here." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Vivian has been stalking Daryl, showing up at his apartment, at his office, calling him constantly. She blames him for her divorce, for losing custody of her son, for everything going wrong. She's completely unhinged. I'm sorry your son is dealing with that, but I'm not sure what I can do about it. She told Daryl she's going to destroy everyone who turned against her. That includes you, Mrs. Westlake. I'm worried she's going to do something drastic. My son filed a restraining order against her too, but I don't think paper's going to stop her. I think she's had a complete break with reality." The conversation left me deeply unsettled. If Vivian was spiraling this badly, what would she do next? Chapter 11. The Confrontation. The answer came on a Friday night 2 weeks later. Trent was at a work training session that would keep him overnight. Malik was supposed to spend the evening with a friend from school, but at the last minute, the friend's mother called to say her son was sick, and could we reschedule. So it was just Malik and me at home that evening. We made pizza together, watched a movie, normal grandmother-grandson activities. He went to bed around 9. I was in my bedroom reading when I heard it. A sound downstairs. Breaking glass. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my phone and called 911, whispering that someone was breaking into my house. Then I quietly made my way to Malik's room. He was awake, sitting up in bed, his eyes wide with fear. I put my finger to my lips, then whispered, "Someone's in the house. We're going to hide in the closet. Don't make a sound." We had just closed the closet door when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Then a voice. Vivian's voice, sing-songing, eerie, Theodora, Malik, where are you? Mommy's home. She was inside my house. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out. Malik was pressed against me, trembling. I held him tight, my phone in my hand, praying the police would arrive soon. We could hear her moving through the upstairs rooms, opening doors, searching. You can't hide from me. I know you're here. The car's in the driveway. She was in Trent's room, then the bathroom. Each door opening and closing brought her closer to us. You know, Theodora, I've been thinking. You ruined my life, took my husband, took my son, took my future. It's only fair that I take something from you. She was outside Malik's room now. The door creaked open. Malik, baby, are you in here? Mommy needs to talk to Grandma. Through the slats of the closet door, I could see her silhouette. She was holding something in her hand. I couldn't tell what it was, but my every instinct screamed danger. She moved toward the closet. My grip on Malik tightened. Where were the police? It had been at least 10 minutes since I called. Her hand reached for the closet door handle. And then, sirens. Loud, close, multiple police cars. Vivian froze. No, 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 no! She ran out of the room. We could hear her footsteps pounding down the stairs, hear the front door bang open, hear shouting voices as police entered the house. Police! Put your hands up. Drop the weapon. Drop it now! A scream, then silence. I stayed in that closet with Malik for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Finally, there was a knock on the closet door and a female officer's voice. Mrs. Westlake, Malik, you can come out. It's safe now. We emerged to find several police officers in the house. Vivian had been arrested. They had found her trying to escape out the back door, and she had been carrying a knife. A knife. She had brought a knife into my house, looking for me, with my grandson present. The magnitude of what could have happened hit me like a physical blow. I started shaking so badly that the EMTs who had arrived with the police made me sit down and checked my vital signs. Malik was surprisingly calm. Too calm. Shock, the EMTs said. They recommended we take him to the hospital for evaluation, but he refused to leave my side. Trent arrived 45 minutes later, having raced home the moment police contacted him. He was white as a sheet, gathering Malik into his arms and holding him like he might disappear. The detective in charge, a woman named Sergeant Patricia Ward, took our statements. She was kind but thorough, wanting every detail. Mrs. Westlake, Ms. Ashby is being charged with breaking and entering, violation of a restraining order, attempted assault with a deadly weapon, and child endangerment. Given her probation status, she's looking at serious prison time. Good, I said, surprising myself with the venom in my voice. She needs to be locked up before she hurts someone. I agree. I'll make sure the DA's office knows the full extent of her escalation pattern. This wasn't a moment of poor judgment. This was premeditated. She brought a weapon. She waited until your son was away and broke in. She was hunting you. The word hunting sent chills down my spine. That night, none of us slept in the house. Trent took us to a hotel, the same Whitmore hotel where I had stayed months earlier. We got adjoining suites, and Malik slept in the bed next to me, neither of us willing to be alone. The next day, we learned more about Vivian's mental state. She had stopped taking medication for bipolar disorder that she had been prescribed after her arrest. She had been drinking heavily. She had posted concerning messages on social media about getting revenge and making them pay. All red flags that, in hindsight, should have been caught earlier. The breaking point, according to investigators, was when she learned about the money from the business sale. One of her old friends had seen Trent's new truck. He had finally bought himself something nice with the money I had given him, and posted about it on social media. Vivian saw it, put two and two together, and snapped. In her mind, I had millions of dollars while she was struggling to pay rent on a studio apartment. It was unfair. It was my fault, and she was going to make it right by any means necessary. Vivian was denied bail. The judge, seeing her escalating behavior and the danger she posed, ordered her held until trial. The psychological evaluation ordered by the court revealed severe mental illness, but also a personality disorder that suggested she was manipulative, narcissistic, and lacking empathy. The psychologist testified that she posed an ongoing threat to us. 3 months later, Vivian pled guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with mandatory psychiatric treatment and a permanent restraining order upon her release. 6 years. It should have felt like justice, but mostly it just felt sad. Sad for the years she would miss of Malik's life. Sad for the person she could have been if she had made different choices. Sad for all the destruction she had caused.